Our guest tonight is Marcy Hawley, who's the president, publisher, co-owner of Orange Fraser Press, Wilmington, Ohio. Welcome, Marcy.
Thank you.
I know there was a great article about your company in the Business Courier recently. Good history. Share a little of that history with us.
Okay, we started in 1987, and we were an editor, a publisher, and a writer for Ohio Magazine. And we're not from Ohio, and we started to see that there was information about Ohio that was new to us and pretty fascinating. And over time, we had collected, back then before computers, 48 file drawers of information on Ohio. So we took some of it and packaged it and made it into a book, not really knowing that we were book publishers, because we weren't then, but just made this little book that ended up going into 4 printings. So that's how it began, but we didn't really know we were publishers until about 5 years later, when we had only done a book a year and someone called us a book publisher. We were just trying to make beautiful products, beautiful books.
Okay, so you mentioned you're now a publishing company 23 years later.
Right.
And I know in our conversations we've talked about commercial publishing and custom books. For those of us who don't understand your business, what's the difference?
We began as a commercial publisher, meaning we owned the material, we owned the right to publish the book, and we paid to make the book and get it out there, market it, promote it, get it into the stores, and we're responsible for all of that. In a custom book project, someone else owns it, and they give us the material, or we write the material, and we make the book just as if it's a commercial book, but the entity, whether it's an individual or a company, corporation, foundation, they actually own the book. We have made it, sometimes we write it for them, we can edit it, we always design them, and our name's on them, whether it's a commercial or a custom book.
So, with all of this publishing company, what do you really do, though, as a publishing company, generically?
Well, we love words. That's what we do. We love stories, and we love good storytelling. So whether it's an author for a commercial book who's written a story, we get the manuscript, and we edit the manuscript. We sometimes help shape it. We do copy editing, proofreading, and then we research images. We're very big on images. And so we research the imagery. If it's not there, we'll take the photographs or create the images. And then we brainstorm what the design will be, and really we're kind of a soup to nuts. We put the whole thing together. So we design it, we package it, and then it's printed and bound, and then we get it into the bookstores if it's a book that will go in bookstores, or it's delivered to the customer if it's a custom book published. You know, that's being done. So
if they had a custom book, for example, about how long does it take from idea generation to having it back in the owner's hands?
Well, that's a good question, because it depends on the size of the book. We've had books that we've worked on for 4 years, and part of that might be because we ended up taking all the photography for the book and writing the book. Some of them might take as short as 4 months. But they still take a good deal of time. We're not, we don't slap them together. It's a process, and we take it very seriously, whether it's a book that's going to go into the bookstore, or it's a book for a company or a corporation or an individual who's doing a memoir.
So in the custom area, the kinds of people that would come to you then to create their book would be?
It could be an individual. It could be We've had the Ronald McDonald Foundation. We did a book for them called Entering These Doors of Compassion, which is all of the Ronald McDonald houses around the world. One woman flew to every one of the 306 Ronald McDonald houses around the world and came back with the photographs and the stories, and then we made the book. Another one was a book we did for the Clinton County Foundation, which it took 2 years to photograph all the books, all the photos for Clinton County, and we wrote all the captions that went with it. Another one was for the Cleveland Botanical Garden, where they sent us all the photography and the words, and we designed the book and put it together for them. So It takes a lot of work.
So you can be in different parts of the process depending on what your customer needs then.
Exactly, exactly.
Any favorite parts that you have?
The favorite part is the very beginning when we get to, we're all very project oriented, so when we get a new manuscript in, it's reading the book and seeing what it's all about, and then brainstorming about how we can make the most beautiful book possible for us or for them. If it has our name on it, it's a reflection of what we do, so it has to be very high-end and very classy and intelligent, so we try and keep it to that level.
Okay, you mentioned that you started out as an Ohio, maybe a regional publisher, but I know that you're now of a national scope. How'd that happen?
It's interesting because Cincinnati had something to do with that. We did a book in 2000 called The Big Pig Gig, and it was about the urban art project with the pigs all over the city. When we did that book with Artworks, it was a custom book that was actually designed down here, but we ended up doing all the printing and marketing of it. It ended up that other cities around the country were doing similar projects, whether they were horses or cows or whatever the animal, you know, it was like a whole livestock thing that was going on at Orange Fraser. But we've done books for Boston and Atlanta, San Antonio, 2 for Washington, D.C. So our name got out there, and through that, because we've never really heavily marketed ourselves, other people have found our books because they like what they look like and they like how they read, and they've come to us with their projects. And so that's when we talked with the Ronald McDonald Foundation, and we're working now with a woman who's in London and New York doing her motivational speaking book. So it's really word of mouth how people find us. I know it's probably not the best in terms of a business model, but we've never really had the business model. We've been doing what we love to do, so that's how it works.
So the business model has evolved based on what your clients ask you to do and where your interests are. And I know you've got this very positive energy about what you do. So why do you do what you do?
We love words, we love language, images, and design. And those are the elements that we use to create what we think is probably humankind's best product. We think a book is probably man's best product. If yogurt is its best edible food, which is supposed to help you with long life, we think that a book has, it has movement, it elicits every single emotion. It can last, our books can last way past your children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. It can be here for a long, long time, or it can be recycled and disposed. It can decorate a room. It can, if you have a whole wall of them, they can insulate your wall. You know, we just think books are phenomenal, and we love the idea of storytelling. So we believe in really good storytelling, and we believe in images, and we believe in design. And if you take those 3 elements, you can make something really remarkable with it. So that's what we try to do. And we love it. We have a good time doing it.
Okay, you've mentioned that you do books for individuals. And I know there was a Spring Grove Cemetery book that you had done.
Yes.
Was that for the Spring Grove Cemetery or for an individual?
It was actually Phil Nuxall's idea. So it was Joe Nuxall's son, Phil, is the historian at Spring Grove Cemetery. And he's developed all kinds of tours for them, and he loves the cemetery. And he wanted to put this book together. The Grove wasn't in a position to do it, so he actually raised all the funds to make the book. He came to us about 3 years ago. He had already worked with the photographers, so they brought the photography with it, although we suggested some other photography, so we added that photography to it and had that taken. And then we wrote the text. We encouraged Phil to write the text after we designed it, and he wrote the text to fit the design, which is something we like to do in a lot of our books that are very visual, so that the design is what guides the book, and then the text enhances it and makes it even better. So yeah, that was for Phil. And he's out there, he owns the book, and all the profits for that book are going to hit a charity. So it's already going into a second printing. It's done very well. And he's a prime example of what these custom books can do. They help tell the stories of people and companies and corporations that will last for a long, long time, much more than, you know, an interview or something on video or something on the internet. It's something that is remarkably long-lasting and can really get into why something has begun, who the entrepreneur was, who started it, and why it's a good thing to do.
Yeah. Okay. I know your company's done about 300 books over the years.
Right.
And you're in competition with these really big brand name publishers. And why have you been so successful? Why do people come to Orange Fraser Press to have these custom books done?
Well, I try to ignore the other publishers. I try not to know what they're doing, because if I study what they're doing, it'll make me nervous thinking that I'm not doing the right thing. And because we didn't really have a business plan and we started by doing something we loved, we continue to do what we love, and it seems to align with what the market enjoys and likes. So we don't really feel like we're competing with them. We could never compete with the big 6 publishers that own all the hundreds of other publishers. So we're considered actually a medium-sized publisher because of the number of books that we print. But with on-demand printing and with people going out and doing their own book, they might do 1 copy of something. There's thousands of those. So mostly I try not to think about it because I think it would cause me stress. Well, I don't want to be stressed.
We know that Orange Fraser has had a great success doing it your way. And we thank you for doing it that way. We thank you for being on the show with us today. And we will see you next week.